required because it gives me a peace of mind. I know who I am today. I'm clean. I can survive. I can live with myself.
But these are the lucky ones.
This thing called crack became a destroyer of communities.
You could sit around a room of kids and say, how many of y'all actually got raised by your parents? And they all gonna sit there and go, not me. My daddy went to jail, my daddy got murdered, my mother was on crack.
It got a member of my family. Family member, my sister, my close, I saw what it did to her, you know what I mean? And it was sad, and I hated that time, because it just took so many people down.
Many people in the African-American community thought that perhaps something akin to genocide was taking place.
If you talk to certain people, they're going to tell you that the government was the very people putting the crack out on the street.
In 1996, journalist Gary Webb comes out with The Dark Alliance, his newspaper series claiming that the CIA helped distribute the cocaine that was used to make crack in Los Angeles, and that the profits were used to fund the Nicaraguan Contras.
So here they are talking about fighting a war on drugs, but yet they're the ones that are putting the drugs in circulation.
At the center of this controversy is Freeway Rick Ross, who received his cocaine from one of these Nicaraguan connections.
When Gary printed his story, it just started a whirlwind.
On November 16th, CIA Director John Deutsch holds a public meeting in a Watts High School to respond to these charges.
We have no evidence of a conspiracy by the CIA to engage in encouraging drug traffickers in Nicaragua or elsewhere in Latin America.
Many will never be satisfied by these denials.
I will tell you, Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time.
The CIA connection to crack is still being debated today. But what's indisputable is that the crack legislation of 1986 has left us with the largest prison population in the world, and that it's disproportionately black.
A lot of the congresspersons who were responsible for this 100-to-1 disparity between crack and powder have come to regret that. They've seen the devastating consequences on families, on communities, and especially on African Americans, and they said that we were wrong.
In the last 25 years, we realized that it was too much of a disparity, and that's one of the reasons why I led the fight to try and change it.
It takes decades of effort and the election of Barack Obama to reform the law and bring the sentencing disparity down from 100-to-1 to 18-to-1.
So yesterday we took an important step forward when Congress passed a fair sentencing bill that I look forward to signing into law, a bipartisan bill to help right a long-standing wrong by narrowing sentencing disparities between those convicted of crack cocaine and powder cocaine. It's the right thing to do.
As for the lasting impact of crack on hip-hop, 25 years later, it's everywhere.
The echo, man, I've seen the best go, cause he ain't had that metal. I'm a hustler, a pusher's pusher. You a buster, customer, I get to some cooker.
It began to affect what a rapper would talk about. Then it began affecting what an audience expected. It began affecting what the videos would be like.
I think rappers at some point, with the bling bling era coming in, with Puffy and Bad Boy and Cash Money and all these artists coming about, what they brought visually was something that they were imitating. The art was imitating the gangster's life.
The image of the crack hustler becomes so mythic that dudes start putting on the persona like a dookie chain.
Who you suckers think you're tripping with, yes, I'm the boss. 745, white on white, that's Rick Ross.
Everybody hustle different, man. My homies, we did it because we had to. I like import, export. I'm in the distribution.
I know Pablo Noriega, the real Noriega. He owe me 100 favors.
Well, Rick Ross stole my name and my identity.
I'm the #1 hustler in the streets, Rick Ross.
And one day I was sitting in my cell and some guys ran over to me with a XXL. And he was in the XXL and he was talking about how he got the name. I was like, what? So I got on the phone and I started to find out who he was. He's been living a fraud. He's never sold drugs. He was a correctional officer. He's not me. He's not Rick Ross. They wouldn't give me a job to be a correctional officer, I guarantee you.
These rappers today, they don't really understand what they're doing by sending that energy out to people.
In his autobiography, Game Over, which becomes the movie Paid in Full, AZ Faison urges kids to stay away from drug dealing.
The drug game is a dying world. It's like everybody's just a race to be the boss in the land of the lost, and it's over. It's like you're dying to sit in an electric chair.
Freeway Rick Ross ends up serving close to 17 years in prison and is now out and trying to begin a new life. For the crack hustlers who get into hip-hop, what they learn in the crack game helps them get ahead in the rap game.
They took the same entrepreneurial steps that we was using in the drug business and they applied it to the music business.
Look at the Wu-Tang deal. They say, well, RZA made an ingenious deal. He made one deal with a major corporation that gave him the power to put the group out, but then he kept the individual rights to go and make individual deals. You know, that's just like somebody who will have a one crack spot in Brooklyn, but then they'll go get a spot in Staten Island, get a spot in Queens, and you collaborate and making a lot of money. Because we think like drug dealers.
Most of us who started our rap businesses, it was modeled behind the crack trade. I literally pictured my cassettes as kilos of cocaine. I was thinking like a drug dealer.
Their role models ultimately were not just a street dealer. They wanted to be the CEO.
It's a classic story of American reinvention that takes these kids from the hard streets of the ghetto to the pinnacle of success. And no one embodies it more than Jay-Z.
A brother who was considered in one generation to be a criminal or an outcast is now a celebrity. I'm saying that's the power of American culture.
Americans love the reformed gangster.
Speech. First of all, I want to thank my connect, the most important person with all due respect. Thanks to the duffel bag, the brown paper bag, the Nike shoe box for holding all this cash. Okay. Boys in blue who would grieve before the badge. Okay. The first pusher who ever made the stash. Okay. The rock boys in the building tonight.
When I think about Jay-Z, here's a kid who in the early 90s was literally on the corner selling drugs. Flash forward to 2009, he has better seats at the inauguration than Jesse Jackson.
In a way, the journey of this crack generation goes full circle, back to the myths of Scarface. Like Tony Montana, these hustlers came from nothing and reached for the only way out they saw.
The world, Chico, with everything in it. You remember that?
Only in this American hip-hop version, Tony survives the game, goes legit, and transforms into something else entirely.
Now we escape that life. I appreciate it every day, man.
Look at the things that we're doing positive with our lives now. Look at me for an example. I have a football league that I started in Southern California, and in my football league, there are so many different parents that sold drugs, gangbanged, that used to shoot at each other. Now, they're all on one page to see their kids do something positive in a football league.
I want people to be inspired to try something different, not to keep dying in those ghettos, going through the same thing, filling up those jail cells for those cops.
If you spend time in the neighborhoods,